Throughout history and across the world's greatest conflicts and wars, there has never been a war that has seen so many martyrs and casualties among journalists and media professionals as the war in Gaza. Today, we present a glimpse of the heroism of the brave people behind the microphone and camera, shedding light on some of their stories in the hope of honoring their beautiful memory. In every war, some carry a weapon, others carry a camera and a pen. The first fights to silence, the second fights to be heard. These are the journalists, the witnesses to the truth, who chose to stand in the most dangerous places simply to tell the world what is happening. Over 190 journalists have been killed since October 2023, making it the deadliest war for the press in modern history. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, from October 7, 2023 until mid-August 2025, at least 192 journalists and media workers were killed. According to Reporters Without Borders, RSF, at least 40 of these journalists were killed under circumstances suggesting they were deliberately targeted. Among them were at least 30 Palestinian women journalists who were killed while covering the bombing or inside their homes with their families. Compared to all major global wars, experts have described this number as the highest death toll for journalists in a single conflict since the beginning of journalistic documentation. For example, during the Vietnam War, which lasted for nearly 20 years from 1955 to 1975, approximately 63 journalists were killed while covering the war, according to Reporters Without Borders, RSF. These brave heroes had families, dreams, and small homes filled with warmth and love. It is well known that this policy of killing journalists is not new, but the world was wrong to let the killer run rampant after committing this crime multiple times before without being held accountable. The murder of the heroic Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was killed years ago in Jenin, serves as a poignant example. Honorable names have passed through here: Hamza Wael al-Dadu, Bassem Abu Daqqa, Anas al-Sharif, Mohammed Quraika, Ismail al-Ghul, Ahmed al-Lu, Hossam Shabat, Ibrahim Zaher, Mohammed Nufal, and many others from the brave AlJazeera journalists who were wounded or injured. They are special. They are brave. They are known in every home around the world as millions wait for them every night with tears in their eyes to learn the truth about what is happening. The AlJazeera Media Network has played a magnificent role in these events, sacrificing many of its brave heroes, along with their colleagues from all other media outlets and organizations. Every media and broadcast agency has given its share of martyrs and wounded. The Anadolu Agency lost 3 people in a treacherous attack: sound technician Marwan al-Sawaf, his brother and photographer Montasser al-Sawaf, and Abdullah Darwish. All of them were killed in a criminal raid that deliberately targeted them. Russia Today lost its trainee, Nermin Kawas. Mohammed Ahmed al-Hobi, a journalist for Sawa Agency, was also killed. Issam Abdullah of Reuters was killed, while his colleagues Thayer al-Sudani and Meher Nasi were wounded in the same attack in Lebanon. Also in the same attack, Agence France Presse photographer Christina Assi and journalist Dylan Collins were injured. Sami Shahada, a correspondent for Turkish radio and television, lost his leg after being attacked in the Nuseirat refugee camp, and his colleague Sami Barhoum from TRT Arabic Agency was also injured in the same attack. Mohammed Jarghoon, a journalist for Smart Media Company, was shot and killed east of Rafah. Mohammed Rizk Sob, a photographer for Al Khabar newspaper, was killed in an airstrike on the Al Ramal neighborhood. Mahmoud Jamal Abu Zarifa, a media professional at the Saudi Cultural Center, was martyred in an airstrike. Muhammad Ali, a journalist for Youth Radio, was killed in an airstrike. Ahmed Fatimeh, a photographer for Al Qahira News Channel, was killed in an airstrike. Heba Fouad Al-Abadla, a presenter at Al-Azhar Radio, was martyred along with her mother and daughter in an Israeli bombing in Khan Yunis. I haven't even mentioned the Palestinian news agencies or the official Palestinian Broadcasting Corporation, as the criminals were not content with just killing them, but also wiped them out along with their entire families in treacherous bombings on their homes. Rajab Mohammed al-Naqib was martyred with his wife, children, parents, and all of his siblings in an Israeli airstrike on their residential building in the Gaza Strip. Abdulrahman Shihab, a writer, political analyst, and founder of the Atlas Center for Research and Studies, was martyred with his wife, 3 children, mother, and 38 other members of his family during an airstrike carried out by the Israeli Air Force on his home in Jabalia, north of Gaza City. 38 people from one family. Do you see with me the horror of the crime and the scale of the tragedy? For what sin were they killed? Muhammad Abu Hattab, a journalist for Palestine TV, was killed along with 11 members of his family in an airstrike on his home in Khan Yunis. The same happened to all the journalists from the Palestinian news agencies, who, as I told you, were wiped out along with their families in a treacherous and unjust manner. Even university professors in media faculties were deliberately killed. Adam Hassouna, a freelance journalist and professor of media at the Islamic University of Gaza and Al-Aqsa University, was killed with his family members in an airstrike. As of today, August 25, 2025, the day I am writing this article, the painful news has arrived of the martyrdom of journalist Mariam Abu Daqqa and 3 other journalists in a bombing by the occupation on the Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis. Even the fools didn't spare those who work for them, as Nir Hassan, a journalist for the Haaretz newspaper, was injured by Israeli youths during the Israeli flag march. You can't see such a combination of foolishness and criminality anywhere else. The most dangerous profession in the world right now is to be a journalist in Gaza. The brave journalists have suffered with the sick and the hungry. They have starved with them to convey the truth and have fallen ill without finding medicine. They have watched their family members, children, and loved ones being killed in front of their eyes to force them into silence. Wael al-Dahdouh, AlJazeera's bureau chief in Gaza, was repeatedly threatened to be silenced, and they carried out their threats by killing his children in front of him. He saw them with his own eyes, but he did not surrender. They then tried to kill him more than once, during which he was severely wounded, and his colleague, cameraman Tamer Abu Daqqa, was killed. But he did not give up, and his son, Hamza Wael al-Dahdouh, also an Al-Jazeera journalist, followed in his father's footsteps. They assassinated him and his colleagues in a deliberate bombing of their car, which was clearly marked with the press logo. This is just one of hundreds of stories. Harder than all of this is for the brave journalists to witness the horrors of the war with their own eyes and still continue their coverage. The pain of seeing such suffering is a heavy burden for those who see it on a television screen. How much greater is that pain for those who witness it every single moment? What is it like to feel threatened with death at every instant and still not surrender or retreat? How do they step forward to carry the banner of truth when they see their colleagues have preceded them? What a strong heart and what a steadfastness of principles they possess. The brave journalists of Gaza deserve all the world's respect, and we should all stand in honor of their sacrifices and heroism and defend their right to work. Every free and honorable person sees the shame and degradation in not holding the criminals accountable for their crimes. The United Nations has always expressed its concern, but has not taken practical steps to protect journalists. There is no hope in international hypocrisy and political complicity. The only true hope lies with the free peoples of the world, who have raised the images of the martyred journalists alongside the photos of civilian victims as a symbol that a word is worth a life. They killed the journalists because they wanted to kill the witnesses. But the truth cannot be killed. From every martyr who fell, 1,000 new witnesses will be born. From every camera that was shattered, thousands of phone cameras will be raised. From every voice that was silenced, the conscience of the world will cry out, "The truth lives on."